hiking in Florida. Now, you might think, how can hiking in Florida be any different than hiking anywhere else? It can be quite a bit different because the climate can be pretty extreme. Now, of course, it differs depending on where you are in Florida. I've mainly been in kind of southwest Florida for most of my life, but from southwest Florida downward, you're dealing with serious heat for the majority of the year. And when you're out hiking, it's important to prepare for that heat and also the humidity and the potential of rain. Rain is very sporadic in Florida. It might be a clear day one moment and it might be downpouring the next, and then 2 minutes later it's clear again. So, you'd have to be ready for spontaneous rainstorms. Now, the first tip I think is very important is to hike at the right time of year. Now, most of Florida doesn't really have 4 distinct seasons, usually just kind of a wet season and a dry season. I would really not recommend hiking between June to early October, which, is quite a lot of the year. But even, you think October is coming around, you get that cool autumn breeze. No, early October, the first half of October is still 90 degrees in at least half of Florida. So later half of October and then, later to around April, that's good weather. You're gonna have a nice, tolerable warmth. Maybe a cool breeze comes around. Humidity will be very low, which is one of the most important things to keep your mind out for, because during the summer, humidity is so bad that you could just walk outside and you are immediately drenched in sweat. You could be sitting down, just relaxing, drenched in sweat. You can't avoid it. So you have to wait a little bit later into the year when the air dries out just a little bit. So humidity goes down, it'll be much more pleasant to go outside, and even then, I still recommend wearing very light clothing. This is one of my favorite shirts. It's mostly polyester with a little bit of spandex, very lightweight, moisture wicking, all that good stuff. So you won't be just dredged down in your own sweat as you go on hiking. Avoid cotton at all costs. If you own anything cotton, do not take it with you hiking. It will ruin your entire day. Drenched in sweat. You can't get rid of it. It's just horrible. I said this in one of my other videos. Best materials for hiking for lightweight and moisture wicking capabilities are polyester, merino wool, and nylon. Merino wool is a little bit too warm for Florida, so I would stick to either nylon or polyester like this. This shirt is also available in the description. So the thing about Florida as well, you have to watch out for quite a lot of insects. So the further inland you go, there's going to be a lot more stagnant water versus, the coast, which is more breezy and more movement in the water. Once you get into stagnant water, there's a lot of mosquitoes. Now, using bug spray, of course, is a really good idea. If there's a lot of mosquitoes, usually they come out in the evening, you could, of course, wear a net. That's not really necessary if you're going during the daytime. It's not too bad. You also need to make sure you wear good shoes and socks. Hopefully, you have some good socks. The thing about Florida, especially after it rains, the ground will become the slipperiest mud you've ever come across. So if you don't want to accidentally injure yourself by slipping and falling, make sure you bring shoes with really good traction. Also, fire ants. Fire ants are your worst enemy, one of your worst enemies, in Florida when you're out hiking in the wilderness. Very small red-looking ants, they come in droves. If you accidentally step on their hill without knowing it, they will crawl up your leg and just bite you 10,000 times, and it will feel like the worst poison ivy of your life. Just like painful, itchy, hot feeling. So wear relatively tall socks when you're out hiking because fire ants are absolutely everywhere. So yeah, just be prepared so you won't have to deal with that, because once they bite you, and several of them will bite you at once, that sting will last quite a few days, super itchy, again, very similar to poison ivy, maybe even worse. So it's best to avoid that so you don't ruin your hike. Now, of course, there are many places to go swimming in Florida. Maybe you're out hiking and you find a neat little pond or something, or a stream. I would I would recommend not swimming in A, still water, and B, murky water, which is the majority of water that you will find in Florida, especially inland. Now this might seem like a kind of killer mood here, but the reason I recommend this is mainly because stagnant water is filled with amoebas, brain-eating amoebas, and flesh-eating bacteria. And if you look at the reports, Florida is one of the kind of top-rated states with one of the most reported cases of flesh-eating bacteria and amoebas and things like that. Mainly because the stagnant water in Florida is very warm, which makes it a great breeding ground for that terrible, terrible bacteria. The other reason besides the bacteria is alligators. So the thing about the water is that usually it's a very murky brown. You can't see what's beneath the surface, and a lot of people are just like, well, I'll just jump in, what's gonna happen? There have been several accounts of people being eaten by alligators because they got too close to the water. At least you won't see me swimming in water like that. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but that's just what I'm saying. Besides that, snapping turtles. Snapping turtles are similar. They won't kill you, but they could definitely take a few of your fingers off. So beware of that. If you want to go swimming in the ocean. At least it's a little bit, you could see what's in the water. You know, you're a little bit safer there. So again, if you come across any murky bodies of waters in your hikes, think twice about entering them. Now, where should you go hiking in Florida? You have all your supplies, your nice lightweight clothes. Where should you go hiking? I recommend many of the state parks that Florida has. Florida has like 178 state parks, I think. Many of them are very, very pretty. And, they have historical landmarks, some very beautiful scenery, natural scenery, of course, wildlife as well. So pretty much if you just look up Florida state parks and go into Google Maps, you will see quite a lot of them. And you can, a lot of them are free, some aren't, but a lot of them are, and you can easily enjoy those. There are also the national parks. Now there are 3 main national parks, which are Everglades National Park, Dry Tortugas National Park, and Biscayne National Park. There are also many national forests, preserves, seashores, things like that. So there are tons of really beautiful places you can visit. And of course, hiking preparation in Florida. Never ever go hiking in Florida, especially when it's hot, without water. Bringing a bottle of water with you is essential because most of the time it's so hot and so humid, your moisture, all the water in your body will just be leached out of you, and you will get dehydrated so quickly, way faster than you would expect. So if you don't want to suffer the maleffects of dehydration when you're just trying to have a nice hike, bring a nice bottle of water with you, preferably a reusable bottle, so that way you could easily fill it up when you need to. Bring some snacks with you, maybe a cereal bar, some granola, maybe a sandwich, things like that. And you'll be good to go if you have food and water with you, especially if you're going on long, long hikes in the hot sun. Also, don't forget to bring your sunscreen. Because Florida is so far south and closer to the equator, the sun is extremely intense. Extremely. If you are from a northern state and you come down, you will not believe how hot the sun is and intense. It will really burn you very quickly. So make sure you slather on that sunscreen, preferably SPF 30 or more, to get that full protection. And you'll pretty much be good to go as long as you have all that. And last tip is make sure you tell someone where you're going. People get lost all the time and no one knows how to find them. So tell someone, either your friends or your family, where you're going, where you're gonna be, and keep your cell phone on you. Your cell phone might not always work, if you're really out in the wilderness, but it still helps, once you do have that cell service, and maybe you need some help or something. But yeah, keeping all these tips in mind, you shouldn't have any problems hiking in Florida. There's nothing really too much to worry about. People worry about the alligators and stuff, but if you just, stay on the trail, you should be fine. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, of course, maybe you can leave a like or subscribe. And I make a few videos throughout the week, so don't miss those.